Hey, I'm Jeff from AvidMax, and today we've got a couple of different nets, and we just wanted to show you the different nets and maybe do a little bit of a comparison. So we've got two different brands with us, Rising and Fishpond. We've only grabbed two of the Fishpond nets. This here is their guide net, and the reason we only grabbed a couple of them is because they're closest in size to the Rising one. So this is the Rising Lunker 24, and we're comparing the guide net to that one. And then we've done the same thing here with Rising's smaller net called the Brookie. And in order to compare to that one, we grabbed Fishpond's hand net. So we're going to show you some of the different features of each of these and maybe help you pick which one might be best for you. So the first thing that you're going to notice as you pick them up is that there is a big difference in just the type of material that's used. So the Rising nets are made out of an anodized aluminum, whereas the Fishpond nets are made out of a composite of carbon fiber and fiberglass. One of the big advantages, I think, to the Fishpond nets in that regard is that they are a lot lighter. So we don't really have the exact specs on the weight of each of them, but I tell you, as you pick them up, you can tell this one is a lot lighter. They're both going to be fairly durable in that you can use each of them as a weighting staff, though maybe for the Fishpond net you might want to get a end cap to put on the bottom of it, as it's probably not going to take the impact quite as well without chipping some of the paint off the bottom. As you look at it as well, they have a very different way of making sure that you can still get a pretty good grip on these nets even when you're out there in the water. So the Rising nets have kind of this knurled aluminum here at the bottom, though it's just a lot of good grooves on it. And really, just holding this here, you can tell it would be a pretty easy thing to get nice grip on even when the handle gets wet. Whereas the Fishpond comes with what they call their river coat paint on it, and it's just kind of a rubberized paint that is also going to be able to give you a really nice grip even when the net is pretty wet. One of the differences between it as well is the way that they've done the rulers. So here on the Fishpond guide net, you've got a ruler that goes from 0 to 26 all the way up along the handle here. So it's got a little bit longer ruler. The Rising net only goes up to 21 inches. But what they've done is they've just put the ruler right here along the side of the hoop. And their reason for doing that is that way you never really have to take the fish out of the water in order to be able to measure it. So some of the things that are distinct here about just the Rising net is they're really proud. It's an entirely American-made net. So everything from production of the materials is right here in the States. It also features a larger than normal hoop. So the baskets on each of these are going to be fairly similar. But as you look here, you can see we can fit almost the whole Fishpond hoop inside of the Rising hoop, and that's just going to be a little bit easier maybe to scoop that fish up in there for you. Both of them are going to have the nice same rubber baskets on these, which if you're still using one of those nets that kind of has the old school style basket, it doesn't matter too much which one of these you go with. Just make sure you upgrade. These are going to be a lot nicer both for you and the fish. It's kind of a snag-free material, so you don't worry about the fish getting their fins caught in this at all. And it's also just going to be a lot nicer for you as you're trying to pull a fly out. Your fly's not going to get caught up in this material nearly as easily as it would in kind of one of those old school nets. One of the things that is very different about the Rising nets as the Fishpond is right here at the bottom. You can just screw the end cap off of that, and there's a little gasket in here, and this is waterproof right here in the handle, so you can use it as a little flask for the celebration after you caught that fish, or maybe just to console you after you didn't get any of them as you were out there. You can order replacement nets for either of these if you happen to rip either of them, so it's a nice feature that you don't have to worry as much about the net ripping, because if it does, you can do that. One of the nice things about the Fishpond nets, though, is they come in a couple of different sizes. So if you don't like the net on this one, you can order it in a few different sizes. The net here on this one is actually a little bit, I think, shallower than the net on the Fishpond one, but does say that this net is made out of a little bit stretchier material. So maybe once you get a fish in there, you'll be able to watch that net just get weighed all the way down with that monstrous 8-pound trout in there, right? All in all, they're pretty similar in size. As you can see here, that's one of the reasons that we picked them. But one of the things that I like here about the rising nets is they've just got a little screw in the side, and if you take that out, then you can actually just kind of collapse the net in half. So that's kind of a nice feature in case you really wanted that longer net but didn't have as much room to transport it. And then when you get back out to the lake there and want to go, then you just slide the net back in there like that, and then you can just screw it in here from the side. And then even though it didn't take up nearly as much room on the way out, you've got a net that is now a full-length net to go. So really they are both a great pair of nets with a lot of great features, and really I think it just comes down to preference, which one is going to suit a few more of your needs. This one has a couple of extra little features like the flask on the end, and maybe that ruler being on the hoop is going to be more important to you, whereas this one really does feel like it is a lot lighter. And I think that's one of its biggest selling points, is that it doesn't have nearly as much weight kind of dragging all of your stuff down. As we move on to the little bit smaller ones, you're going to notice that a lot of the features are similar. Whereas on the smaller Fishpond nets, they don't have a ruler on the handle at all. Here on the rising brookie net, they still have a small ruler here on the basket. So it goes from 0 to about 15 inches, as you can see. And again, you can measure this right here on the hoop so that you don't have to take the fish out of the water at all in order to get the size of it there. This one is going to be a little bit lighter as it's made out of the carbon fiber fiberglass material. As you can see here, even though on the bigger nets, the rising net had a much bigger hoop to it, on these nets, they're actually pretty close in size. They've still both got the rubber baskets. As you might be able to see there as well, the basket on the Fishpond hand net here is just a little bit deeper. But again, Rising says that this one is going to stretch out a little bit, which you can see. It does that as you start to put a little bit of pressure on it. This one is still made out of the anodized aluminum, and it has kind of the knurled handle on there, whereas this one has the river coat painting. Both the smaller ones here as well as the bigger ones come in a variety of different colors. So obviously all of the rising nets are just going to be in one solid color, whereas there are a few different options for some different fun patterns that you can get here on the Fishpond nets. Just like on the bigger one, this also has a much smaller little flask there that you can hold what you want to in there, as well as this still has kind of that breakdown screw here in the handle. So if even this is too big of a net for you, you can simply pull that screw out, the handle comes off, and then it's taken down to about half the size. They have a little different way that you can attach these nets to something as well. So as you'll see here on the Fishpond, it comes with a lanyard and has a little bit of a hole there in the handle. The rising net has two different ways to attach it. So it's got one much smaller hole right here at the very base of the handle that you could attach your own lanyard to, or it also comes with another kind of like leather strap that goes kind of around the top of the net there, in case you wanted to be able to attach a lanyard to the top there, though that might not work quite as well as you were trying to grab a fish with it. Just like with the bigger one, the rising brookie here is made 100% in the US. And really, as you're looking at these two different nets, I don't think the weight is as substantial in comparing these two as it was in the others. There's just not as much material. So you're gonna have maybe a little bit tougher choice determining between these two. Again, this one's gonna come with a couple of extra fun features. It's gonna break down in half as well as have a flask to it, whereas the Fishpond net here is gonna feel maybe just a little bit lighter. It has a little bit deeper basket to begin with. And again, it's gonna float when it sits on the top of the water. So hopefully this review has helped you figure out just a little bit better maybe which of these nets is gonna be best for you. Hey, if you liked our video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as add any of your comments or suggestions down below. For more fly fishing and outdoor related videos, subscribe to our AvidMax YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out there.